ever noticed how some of the most beautiful places in America are the ones no one talks about? The ones hidden behind long, twisting roads and miles of quiet forest. It started as a weekend adventure for 5 friends: Ethan, Mariah, Liam, Sophie, and Chris. They were traveling from Seattle to explore a little-known natural wonder deep in northern Washington. A waterfall said to glow under the moonlight. Locals called it Shadow Falls. It was supposed to be breathtaking, the kind of place you post on Instagram and get hundreds of likes for. But the locals at the last gas station before the mountain didn't share their excitement. One man, an old attendant with cloudy eyes, told them flatly, "Don't drive that far after dark. Folks don't come back the same." They laughed it off. Who believes mountain ghost stories, right? But some warnings aren't meant to be funny. They started their drive around 3, weaving through tall evergreens and narrow mountain roads. By 6:30, the sun was almost gone, and the sky turned a deep bruised blue. Fog began to spill over the ridges, thick and heavy. The road curved endlessly, and the GPS froze. No signal, no map. "Guess we're off-grid now," Ethan joked, tapping his phone. Mariah smiled nervously. Well, that's part of the adventure. But soon, the van's headlights flickered. Once, twice, then the engine coughed and went silent. They rolled to a stop in the middle of nowhere. Liam checked his phone again. No service. Sophie tried hers. Nothing. "Seriously," Chris muttered. "We're dead in the woods." They argued briefly about whether to stay in the van or find shelter. But the cold made the choice for them. Mist crawled across the road like something alive, and Sophie suddenly pointed ahead. "Wait. Do you guys see that?" Through the fog, faint yellow lights glimmered, like lanterns in the distance. They followed the lights along a narrow gravel path until they came upon what looked like a small, old-fashioned neighborhood, maybe 6 or 7 houses and one large two-story building with a flickering sign that read, "Hotel Silencio." "Looks vintage," Mariah said, forcing a laugh. "Looks like a horror movie," Liam replied. Still, they were too tired to care. The lobby smelled faintly of cedar and dust. A bell sat on the front desk, beside an old guest book. Behind the counter was a woman, pale, thin, with silvery hair tied neatly behind her head. "5 rooms?" she asked softly. Maybe 2. "We'll share," Ethan said, trying to sound casual. She nodded. "Just for the night?" "Yes, ma'am," Mariah replied. The woman's eyes flicked up, cold and unreadable. "Then leave before sunrise." They all froze for a second, unsure if she was joking. But her tone was flat, serious. "Sure thing," Ethan said quickly. "We'll be out early." The woman handed them to brass keys and smiled faintly. "Good. The mountain doesn't like guests that linger." Upstairs, the halls were lined with faded photographs, black and white. Images of people smiling awkwardly in front of the same building. Every face looked familiar in a strange, unsettling way. Ethan, Mariah, and Sophie shared one room. Liam and Chris took the next. Around midnight, Sophie stirred awake. She thought she heard knocking, soft, rhythmic tapping on the window. She tried to ignore it, but it came again, louder. Tap! 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 Her breath hitched. Their room was on the 2nd floor. There was no balcony, no ledge. When she looked toward the window, she froze. A hand, pale and wet-looking, pressed against the glass. Its fingers dragged slowly downward, leaving no marks, no moisture. Just movement. She screamed. Ethan and Mariah jumped up, rushing to the window. But when they looked out, nothing. Only fog and empty forest. Meanwhile, in the room next door, Liam sat scrolling through his phone when he heard footsteps outside. Heavy dragging, slow. He opened the door. The hallway was empty, except for a figure standing far down the corridor, facing the wall. It was tall, wearing old, tattered clothes, muttering in a low voice. "Hey!" Liam called out, heart racing. The figure stopped whispering. Slowly, its head turned all the way around without its body moving. Liam slammed the door shut. "Chris, wake up." He hissed, but Chris wasn't in bed. The blanket was pushed aside, and his shoes were gone. Morning came to slowly. When they all gathered downstairs, the old woman was waiting behind the counter, staring at them like she already knew. "You didn't sleep well," she said, voice calm. "No," Ethan muttered. "We didn't. They never let travelers rest," she said softly. Mariah frowned. "Who's they?" The woman turned toward the window, her expression blank. "The ones who never checked out." Ethan didn't wait for an explanation. "We're leaving." They rushed out to their van. Somehow, the engine started without a problem. They didn't question it. They just drove fast. As the fog thinned, Sophie glanced back one last time. On the balcony of the hotel stood a figure watching them go. A figure wearing Chris's jacket.